Here's a high-class clown, as they call him in the circus. That's Gary Soule of Surgeon Bay. He's been in many, many, many of these, and I have yet to know how he's able to walk on those stilts. He bought those from the K Continental Circus stilt walker, he told me.
Cage 88 that we're looking at was with Barnum and London Circus. And they paraded in that wagon paraded in every major city in Europe and England when Barnum and Bailey was over there at the turn of the century. Here it is in Milwaukee.
And that's Whiskers inside. I guess that's why it was.
Oh no, the corner
I see the corner carvings. There it is.
Are all men with beards, and so they call it the Whiskers cage.
Well, a Whiskers cage wagon drawn by 4 Belgians from Earl Prochnow of Athens, Wisconsin. He's been in the circus parade before. Mirror bandwagon is coming up next. That's Ratzer's Brass Circus brand of Milwaukee. A 6-horse hitch. He and his dad and his now son's getting involved in it. Great Belgian breeders from Davenport, Iowa, and they have a beautiful 6-horse hitch. You can see why it's called the Mirror bandwagon.
Gallmer Brothers was another Baraboo circus that got to be a 30-cart circus, and that was a big circus in that day. They were going strong in the teen years.
Well, they used that through 1916 on the Goldmer-Patterson Circus and Carnival activities. That's Milwaukee's Jolly the Clown. He's been in a lot of these circus parades. A real nice guy, Jolly the Clown. And that's his buddy there, April, I believe is the name of that horse. That's Art Petrie, of course. 2 hearts beat as 1, April and Art.
Asia wagon is one of the biggest wagons we have. Barnum and Bailey had 4 of those built. One was Asia, America, Europe, and Africa. Each one depicted that continent.
That Percheron hitch, by the way, is another beautiful 8-horse hitch of Percherons from Art Eller of Pierce, Minnesota.
Yeah.
21
wagon.
feet long. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful wagon and a beautiful hitch of horses, too. You can see the ornate carvings on it. And that's an original wagon. That's not a recreation.
That's an original wagon. As I said, it was built in 1903 for Barnum and Bailey.
I guess the only difference in the horses now that we see are the fact that they're probably a little bigger than we ever would see during the turn of the century.
They're a little bigger, and the harness is a little fancier.
Yeah, that is. These are all show harnesses with the Wheat State Hames and all, and the Scotch collars.
We have to bend our historic aspect just a bit.
Well, it makes a better parade, I think, to have these horses all sharped up like that.
Sure.
That's a 3-arch cage wagon, number 19. 3 tigers inside from Kay Rosari of Sarasota. She'll have a lot of these exotic animals in the parade today. The 6-horse hitch of Percherons from Richard Lee of Hilbert. He's been around, too.
And his father before him, Cliff Lee.
That's right. And the Lee family has been Percheron breeders and exhibitors for years. Incidentally, some of these beautiful pictures from up on high come from a High Ranger, and that's brought to us courtesy of the Utility Leasing Corporation. Some of the people watching the great circus parade. The 3-arch wagon, incidentally, has 3 cages, and there were 3 of them in there, too. From the Sells Floto Circus.
Sells Floto winter quartered in Denver, interestingly enough, and the circus was owned by the Denver Post, of all things.
Many of these circuses wintered in areas where hay was easy to get.
Yeah.
Because they had so many horses. Now, there are 700 or some horses here today, but that's what, about double what an ordinary circus would have? Even the biggest Ringling Brothers?
I think so. I think Ringling Brothers, at their height of their career, they had 250 draft horses and probably 300 performing horses. And that is a lot of horses to have on a show.
We were talking about the size of them, too, and the horses nowadays are between 17 and 18 hands and weigh, easily 2,000 pounds. Some of them, that big right-hand horse of ours on that introduction wagon is 18.3 and weighed 2,500 pounds. But I noticed that in your book one time you talked about Ringling Brothers had a couple of 19-hand horses as kind of curiosities.
Yeah, but basically, a 1,600-pound horse, a team of those, so 6 of them, could pulled just as much of a load as 6 horses that weighed a ton apiece. And you know, they could dig in and really move these wagons when they're in soft ground or in sand. So they really didn't need all of that meat and heft. That's why they stuck to those little bit lighter weight horses.
And they didn't have so much room. They didn't take up so much room either.
In the railroad cars, they had 30 horses in every stock car, and it was necessary to pack them in tight so that if the train jerked, the horses wouldn't fall down. This way they would lean against each other. Rarely would a horse fall.
That was a Lake Band of Milwaukee, incidentally, that went by with Mark Brower, the director of the 40-piece Lake Band of Milwaukee. They were back in the circus parade in the early 70s. Lion and Gladiator Tableau Wagon 102. 8-horse hitch of Percherons from Gene Sauter of Three Lakes, who has a tremendous hitch of Percherons and a huge collection of beautiful wagons, too, up in Three Lakes. Not a beautiful hitch of horses?
8-horse team, beautiful.
That's a 1905 vintage wagon, toured with Hagenbeck Wallace Circus.
That wagon's on loan from Ringley Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Cage 29. An old Self's photo cage. It's carried leopards, the leopard act in the show.
The Belgian hitch is Glenn Fitch of Toma. A nice team of Belgians. Denise is on the street. Denise, what you got?
Well, John, there are about 300 police officers who are here to kind of keep an eye on things as people are going through the parade and to make sure if people need any help, they can get it. One of those officers is Jeffrey Hoover. What kind of a crowd are we seeing today?
Well, it's a pretty large crowd, a lot of families together and friends and relatives from out of town, and everybody is well behaved. It's just fantastic the way people are behaving. No problem at all.
I know if you have to work, I mean, is this at least a duty that's a bit pleasant?
Yes, it can be, dealing with a lot of people and a lot of fun.
Okay, great. Well, John, we're going to sit here and have fun, too.
That's what we're doing, too, Denise. Thanks a lot. The Wild West section of the parade is coming up with maybe one of my 4 or 5 favorite wagons, and that's that big Pawnee Bill job coming up.
I think that is a glorious wagon. Built 1903. Cost $1,500. Probably cost $150,000 today.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't even get a wheel repaired for $1,500 right now.
No.
But I remember the old circus parade days years ago. Dave Adams with the big 8-horse hitch of Percherons on that big Pawnee Bill, and it was wonderful. But that's coming up now with a 8-horse hitch of Clydesdales from Herbert Anderson of Harshaw, Wisconsin, and Merrill Brooks of Westby getting together with the big 8-horse hitch for the Wild West section of the Pawnee Bill bandwagon coming up.
It's one of the few circus parade wagons that was ever designed with a different theme on each side. The side we're looking at is Columbus discovering America. The other side is Pocahontas saving John Smith's life.
That's right. That's Art Zen's circus band up there, too. And I don't know, is this really Buffalo Bill coming down here? Or Buffalo Bill's supposed to be in the parade, although I suppose his friends would call him Ed Hill of lacrosse, but he's recreating Buffalo Bill. Did Buffalo Bill ever travel in these kind of things?
Oh, you bet. He was one of the greatest attractions in show business. People just loved him.
Well, he had a show, a traveling show, didn't he?
Wild West show.
Yeah. And this is, of course, the Wild West section. In the old days of circus parades, did they split it up this way, where they had a Wild West section or something?
No, but you see, because these Wild West shows were so successful, circuses immediately put Wild West acts into their circus performance. And then they had a chance to have a Wild West section and to capture the thing that most people were interested in.
Well, we had Buffalo Bill, and then we had some Western characters, as they say, a troupe of Western characters go by, riders from Baraboo, Burlington, Madison, and West Allis. And this is a real old wagon here, isn't it?
You bet. That was also built for Barnum and Bailey, and originally it carried a band organ in it. but today we just use it to carry our baggage.
Orchestre Melcor, is that how you do
Yes,
that? That's
right.
pretty close anyway. That's Cal Larson. He's been in all these parades too from Ripon. He's a heavy equipment operator, and he's worked on many of the projects around here in Milwaukee, and does these 8 Clydesdale hitches or the 6 Clydesdale hitches as kind of a hobby. The United Indians of Milwaukee on top. Oh, look at that. Hello, America. Welcome to Milwaukee. The Orchestre Melcor with the United Indians of Milwaukee on top and Cal Larson's Clydesdale pulling. That was back in the 1870s, that wagon dates from.
Yep.
From P.T. Barnum's Circus.
As the camera pans across the crowd, everybody is just loving it. You can
Yeah, it
see
is.
their
Again, it's a very.
expressions.
You know, I've ridden in this parade, as you know, Chappie, and you have. I don't think you ever have.
No,
though,
never
but,
did.
It is one of the greatest experiences of a person's life to ride here, because of all of the there's just universal friendliness that it just exudes from this huge crowd. Fabulous experience. This is the Fox River Valley Lutheran Youth Band. 120 strong from Lutheran high schools in Appleton, Fond du Lac, Jackson, Kenosha, and Manitowoc. Frank Kitzrow is the director.
When you were in these parades, John, didn't it give you a feeling of tremendous satisfaction to be giving so much pleasure to people?
I don't think there was ever anything in my life that has ever done that better, Chappie.
Yeah.
It's as I say, the feeling of the crowd of friendliness, and the people were yelling thanks and all that. It was just wonderful. Well, we're going to continue our coverage of the 1987 Great Circus Parade in just a moment.
To those who believe in lasting relationships, we bring support and guidance from the first dollar you save to the dream come true. First Wisconsin, we share the dream.
This Bud's for all that you do.
Today a landscaper, tomorrow a college student. Yep. Finally took your advice, Mike.
You taught him
Already you're
all
smart.
you knew. They say he's a lot like you. Yeah, you make America work, and this Bud's for you.
Here's to you, Beechwood Age, for that clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
To a future architect. And to a brother who made it possible.
This Bud's for you.
Tough problems call for special solutions. So call on True Test specialty products from True Value hardware stores. True Test Sealer and Stain Killer prepares surfaces for painting, and it's just $4.98 a quart. Outside, remove dirt and chalk with True Test Siding Cleaner, only $5.98 a half gallon. True Seal waterproofing coating is just $7.98 a gallon. And Exo Rust Gloss Enamel puts down a rust-resistant coat. It's only $4.98 a quart at participating True Value hardware stores.
Insane! My audio and video prices are so low, no one can go lower! At Appliance Warehouse, our prices are almost close to wholesale. You can't do better than that.
No matter what they claim,
The competition's gunning for me because I got the best stereo prices in town.
just remember the asterisk, because nobody but nobody sells for less than Highland.
There's the Concord Stagecoach, and if you look at that thing, the suspension on that is quite interesting if you see it. It's leather suspension.
Those are called through braces. Through braces, that's the name for that suspension. And that is an authentic Concord coach that was built in 1865.
Here's a covered wagon of the 101 Ranch Real Wild West, and those oxen are from Charles Robb of Arena. And he's been in the parade before and has been around with those oxen. Yesterday they were practicing, and I won't say that the horse people don't care much for oxen, but one guy was getting ready to start his team out, and the oxen were coming down, and he yelled to the driver, "Look out, here come a bunch of cows." I think that's quite spectacular that he can get those oxen trained and driven, although I know that our grandfathers did that.
And these are young animals so that they can keep up with the horses. You see, the natural gait is slower than a horse, but being young, they still keep up.
Yeah, they go pretty well, and there's no bit in their mouth either. Those were Wild West riders we saw, and this is the Sea Serpent Tableau number 33. That's your old friend Ray Bast of Richfield driving his 4 Percherons.
He was president of the American Percheron Society for years. One of the great horsemen in this country.
One of the great Percheron breeders, too, and he told me he's not going to be in the shows this year because he said it's hard to get help and it was getting to be expensive, and he wasn't going to do this. He was going to judge the shows now. The Sea Serpent Tableau, number 33, white with silver carvings, a beautiful wagon, built around 1910.
Isn't that striking? Pure white wagon, all the carvings are silver. That's what the Circus has always did. They had elegant looking wagons. The paint jobs were elegant, never garish, never crude and loud. The word is elegant to explain the colors on a circus wagon.
And yet that's not a word you would ordinarily associate with a circus.
But you see, they were mainly red, blue, white, gold.
This is called a stringer wagon, and I guess you'll have to explain what stringers were.
Well, stringer were the long planks on which the bleacher seats sat, and needed a long wagon, 22 feet long, to carry those long stringers from town to town. So we just call it a stringer wagon because that's what it is. But in parade, it's just a platform on which we can have performers.
All the performers from the circus would ride in this daily parade.
Absolutely.
Huh? There's a cage wagon, number 85, 2 Tigers. And the horses are Clydesdales, a 6-horse hitch from Robert Clay of Tomah. And it was interesting to me, Chappie, that Clydesdales weren't often seen in early circuses, were they?
No, I don't believe they were ever seen. They're just a little bit too clumsy. They're a very leggy horse. They're magnificent and look beautiful. They just couldn't do the work that the Percherons could do.
And there were never anything like a buckskin. I remember reading in your book where Tom Lynch, one of the boss hostlers, would say a buckskin couldn't pull a bird off a nest.
He was quite a hostler, I tell you.
There are some things about the horses, too, that are interesting. For example, in the old days, the horses would have their manes and forelocks roached off. Now, that doesn't happen nowadays. None of these horses has, except the Circus World Museum.
It was the prerogative of the boss hostler whether to roach the mane or leave it on. And if you roached it, you didn't worry about cinders and sand getting into the mane and causing sores around the collar.
There's a special section of the parade this year that is a tribute to France, of course, because of the Bastille Days. We're right across the street from the Bastille Days celebration here, the 6th annual Bastille Day celebration, a street festival that takes place in the Easttown district of Milwaukee. And so this is the France section. That's the French flag wagon and the France bandwagon, too. Denise, what you got going, kid?
Well, John, an important part of this parade, of course, are the clowns who are here. We're talking to one of them. Hello.
Hi.
Jolly the clown. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you became part of this parade?
Well, we all have to send in an application with a picture to Jolly, the head clown, and he lets us all be in the parade if we all apply, and then we all come and get our numbers for in the parade, and we're here.
Okay, great. Well, you all look great, and it really is an important part of the parade. John, he's having a great time, so are we.
I think everybody is. And you hear the a little bit of the French national anthem that went by. It sounded like anyway. That's Roland Ruby's horses pulling the France bandwagon. Roland's been with you for a long time, hasn't he?
He's been with us for every single parade.
Yeah, and Roland himself was driving. And there's Joan of Arc too. What's a French section without Joan of Arc? A portrayal of the famous national heroine and patron saint of France, Joan of Arc. That's Teresa von Ruden of Juneau, who is Joan of Arc. I guess you're right when you say that circuses were teaching lessons too.
It was an educational process.
Yeah.
And with their menagerie displays of wild animals, see, many cities, most cities didn't have zoos in those days. So they'd see all these exotic animals, every little small town in the country.
That's the golden age of chivalry. They call that the dragon wagon. I don't know that that's very kind or not. You may not like that description, but...
Well, I guess it's about what it looks like. And it was built in 1903 for Barnum and Bailey Circus.
The horses are a 6-horse team of Percherons from Pete Lippett, who used to live in Cottage Grove and lives down near Atlanta now. And the Lady Olympia is Roberta Ingratia, who is the wife of Paul Ingratia, who is the chairman of the board of directors of the controlling group running the Circus World Museum. How's that? Did I get that right?
You bet you did.
Okay.
She's a charming lady.
Yeah, she sure is. And Paul is wonderful and cooperative, and they're from Rockford, Illinois, but I think they wish they were from Wisconsin. Lady Olympia, rescued by the 2 knights from the ferocious dragon. It's a beautiful wagon. That they call that the dragon wagon. And
it's one of the few wagons in the parade that is strictly a parade vehicle. In other words, it never carried any baggage or equipment paraphernalia. When they weren't parading, the head and wings and tail was removed and put inside the wagon.
That's a beautiful hitch. They were 6 grays, too, dapple grays. Beautiful. Well, there's a little bit of a break now, and we'll be right back with more coverage of the 1987 Great Circus Parade.
What's the most trouble-free new car sold in America? Once again, it's a Toyota. This year, it's a Toyota Cressida. Who could ask for anything more?
I'll never take the easy road. I ain't no mama's boy. I know what I believe in, and I know what I enjoy. So when it's time to salute my friends, my flag is close at hand. I pledge my allegiance to the king of beers. I'm a genuine bud man. For the bud bud. For the bud bud. I'm bud man.
A lot of things can make a place special. Here it's the land and the people. A land rich in resources. A people dedicated to working together. It's the dream of a better life. Wisconsin. We believe in it. We're part of it. Wisconsin. We named our bank after it. First Wisconsin. We share the dream.
Looking out for number 1.
Toyota 4Runner, 4-wheel drive, room for 5, and #1 in customer satisfaction 2 years running.
Looking out for number 1.
Who could ask for anything more?
Chappie, you're not supposed to worry about that when there are little breaks in the action here. You're up here enjoying things now.
John, I can't help it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what Bob Parkinson is worrying about. What a remarkable job that man has done pasting all of this together. And I can see little things that bother me, and I'm sure if Bob was here, he'd bother him. But I don't think the public sees these little bitty things.
No, we're very patient on all of this. We don't notice those things. This is the South Milwaukee High School Marching Band, the Rockets. Sharon Alway is the director. 130 pieces strong from South Milwaukee. No, you're absolutely right. And when I saw the drawings, for example, the intricate drawings that are made of every inch of this parade route, and every unit in it is sketched out, and to see the amount of work that goes into staging this thing is just fabulous.
Well, Bob Parkinson has been working on this for 6 months, and his crew up there in Baraboo, it's just unbelievable the amount of detail and work, but it all shows up out here on the street. It's a magnificent parade.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, that's cage wagon number 81. I guess it has no other name. There's a cinnamon bear in there when we get to it, and the hitch is a four-horse Belgian hitch from Neil Kibler of Nina. There's the cinnamon bear. Built in the 1920s, the wagon, not the bear, for Howe's Great London Circus. And I think you told me that's an American circus, though, even though it's called the Great London Circus.
Right. It's just a little gimmick the circus used to interest people, but it was an American circus. What we're looking at now is one of the English wagons. It's a telescoping tableau. That whole upper section cranks down into the body of the wagon when the circus was moving from town to town. That was built in 1865 in England.
Now, it can't be raised all the way up anymore, though, can it?
Oh, yeah. But, well, there used to be a girl sitting up on top of that, but we can't do that because the wires in Milwaukee are all 18 feet, and that girl would be like about 22 feet.
She'd have to duck on the wires.
Right.
That was a 6-horse hitch of Belgians with John Carlson of Henderson. The Knights Templar of the Crusades. Again, we're into one more of our educational parts of the parade. Those are riders from the Menominee Falls Saddle Club of Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. Not everybody in the original parades rode the wagons. There were a lot of mounted people, too, weren't there?
Lots of equestrians and equestrians. Everybody rode on a wagon or on a horse. Rarely did the circuses have any marching units. Occasionally marching bands. This is the Columbia wagon coming down with 8 Clydesdales.
That's Jerry Stitch and his Baraboo Circus Band. He's been in every parade, too. The Clydesdales are from DeVere Clay of Toma. That's a beautiful wagon. That's one of my 3 or 4 favorites, too.
That's Ben Barkin's favorite wagon, Columbia.
Built back in 1902 for 4-paw cells. John Kelly got this for the Circus World Museum, Chappie.
That was one of the first wagons the museum ever owned. And John M. Kelly did buy it from somebody in Peru, Indiana. We hauled it up to Baraboo and rebuilt it.
That's Dr. Muller, Dr. H. Nicholas Muller, director of the State Historical Society, with Carol. That's the cage tableau wagon, number 61, and that's a unicorn hitch. I've always felt that that's one of the most difficult hitches to drive, is a unicorn. A single horse right out there between God, country, and the driver.
But it's interesting. It's different. I just love to see that because it's a circus type of team.
Because it is unusual.
Yes.
Sure. There is a class for that in the shows now, too. The unicorn hitch with a team and then a single horse out in front. That's from Holden Hankey of Cashton. And that's the cage tableau wagon. There's another cage wagon. There's going to be some black bears in there when you see it a little closer. And the horses are from Lloyd Stokeland of Menominee. Cage wagon number 82. You can see that some of these shots coming from up on high, and the use of the Simon lifts is the courtesy of Simon Aerials Incorporated. Here's the band organ, chap.
Yep, band organ in number 55. That's a fascinating instrument. And every major circus had a band organ. It gave them another bit of music without having to have a band made up of musicians, you see. They love to have music. They had uniphones and shaker chimes, air calliope, steam calliope.
Might be one of the few female teamsters in the place driving band organ, too. Dr. Catherine Darr of Coshocton, Ohio. This is another two-arch cage wagon. Horses are, that's a 6-horse hitch from Keith Woodbury of Bridgeville, Indiana. He's been in the parade a lot, too. That's a color. That's an idea of a circus wagon right there. The colors and the whole looks of it.
Right.
The man on top, of course, hanging on to the brake. The Royal Mail coach.
That came from England. That wagon's at least 150 years old.
Well, that came, according to legend, from the Postal Service of England.
Right.
Which, of course, is why it's called a mail coach. Beauty Tableau.
It gets its name from the 3 wood-carved ladies on each side. There's 6 of them all together, and it becomes a very attractive wagon.
You can see the hitch out in front are Clydesdales from Dan Jones of Bangor. He's been there before. And that man strumming the banjo is the editorial cartoonist of the Milwaukee Journal, Bill Sanders. That's Bill Sanders' Dixieland Band up on top of the Beauty Tableau bandwagon. And as luck would have it, it stopped right in front of the TV camera. Okay, an appreciative crowd for Bill Sanders' band. Golden Brothers Circus Tableau Wagon. What is a tableau? That means a pretty side.
It's just a pretty and attractive wagon. It was not a band wagon. It wasn't a wagon that carried animals. Just another name for a wagon.
Did it have any useful, did they carry anything in it?
Oh, you bet. Loaded with baggage, equipment, paraphernalia of all kinds.
How'd he get back here? That's Gary Soule again. I don't know. Is that?
No, this is Walter Jankowski of Milwaukee.
Oh, that is right. That isn't Gary Soule. You're right. That's a new one. This kid is Walter Jankowski from Milwaukee Size Society. That's right. And it's Walter Never Falter Jankowski. I thought it was Gary Soule again. There's a familiar wagon. Our team pulled that in Chicago in the 2 years of the circus parade there. The Lion and Tiger Tableau.
Yeah, it's a neat little wagon.
It is. It was a nice wagon, and that's Elroy Brass up there driving it with his 4-horse hitch, although some of those belong to Al Young. They're both from Elkhart Lake. The Lion and Tiger Tableau wagon, a pretty wagon, and Elroy's driving the 4.
Elroy Brass has been in just about every parade we've had, way back to 1963.
Yeah. Now, Walter Never Falter Jankowski. I thought that was Gary Soule that came back and made a repeat performance here. Well, we have another fairly long delay by the looks of things, and I suspect that Bob Parkinson is having some difficulty down there somewhere along the line, but we'll take advantage of that and be right back with more coverage of the 1987 Great Circus Parade.
And coming up for children of all ages, the children's section!
And Mother Goose.